because he was angry about, probably losing to Roman and then, not winning the Battle Royal, and now he wants to be back in the title mix, and he knows that Roman is the guy to go after because he's probably the next in line for a title shot, and that's all it is. So I just don't see it as like a killing of his character or anything like that. I mean, the fans are going to boo him no matter what. They've been booing him for years. So it's not. I just don't think like it's that like a burial of any kind for Roman. It's just he just got beat down pretty good, and he's hurt, and maybe he'll take a week or two off the show, and he'll come back and fight Braun at the next pay-per-view at Payback, which is in a couple weeks, and then they'll go from there.
But to me, I feel like they're trying to get Braun over as this monster heel that people are scared of, and all you did by having him beat up somebody he hates is get him over as a face, which is the opposite of what they were trying to do. So I feel like in that essence, the idea behind it was somewhat of a failure, despite how awesome the segment was.
I think anybody who attacks Roman is going to get over as a babyface.
Right.
So I don't think that's, it's just the nature of the angle. I mean, I'm sure their thought on it is, they aren't booking for the 15,000 fans in the arena, right, that maybe are going to cheer the bad guy. There's millions of people at home, like the kids or whatever, that are Roman Reigns fans that are going to see that on TV and be like, oh, Braun's a bad guy. Roman, hope he's okay. Hope he comes back. People that are actually fans of his and all the merchandise that he sells and all that stuff. So I think that there's certainly going to be a segment of the people that watch the show, of the fans, that are going to still back Roman, like the kids and the women or whatever his fans are, and that angle will work on them. But the ones that don't cheer him, and the internet fans or the fans like us, maybe, who are a little bit more focused on just appreciating different characters and the heels and stuff like that, they're never going to cheer for him. It's the same thing with Cena, right? I mean, people do the same thing with Cena. Anytime somebody turns heel on Cena, they get massively cheered, right? Like Lesnar got cheered, Ryback got cheered when he turned down him, like all this type of stuff. It's the same situation. But there's still going to be people that support Cena, as far as the kids and the women in the audience, and he's still going to get booked as a babyface, even though he may not get reacted to that way in the arena.
I understand what you're saying about the Cena part, but to an extent now you have Roman Reigns, who literally just took the quote-unquote reins from The Undertaker, and this is my yard now, and you're riding this high from retiring an icon in the business, and then literally the next week you then have him get his ass kicked. So he doesn't have any momentum. It just, I just hate the whole lineage of it. I think it doesn't make any sense from a booking standpoint. There's no momentum, If that's the case, if you wanted to get Braun over as this bad guy, you could have got Braun over as the bad guy by having him destroy The Undertaker in the first place and having him retire The Undertaker, because then he would have gotten his heel heat, which seems like what they want for him. And then maybe you could have even had Roman Reigns come out and defend The Undertaker or something along those lines. It just doesn't make sense to me that Braun, you want to talk 50-50 booking, you retire a legend in one of your biggest matches of your career, and then you just literally get emasculated on television.
I just don't see that. Like he just got beat up. Like he's not supposed to get touched anymore. Like he beat the Undertaker, so he's like invincible now. Is that like what we're like? You can't, if you book him that way, he's going to be over as a heel because you can't beat him. Like it's just like, I mean, it's even like guys that were top baby faces from years ago, like Stone Cold and stuff like that. Like he used to take beat downs every couple of weeks from like Mick Foley or Kane or Undertaker or Triple H or whoever it was. Like as a babyface, you have to get beat up by a heel at some point to
I have no problem with the babyface getting their ass kicked, but I just don't feel like you do it the week after. I just feel like it was poor timing for everything, from the sit down interview where Roman came out as Johnny respectful and loved everybody, to 2 weeks after beating the Taker, a week after beating the Taker, and then a week after that really good segment. I just feel like it was poor planning on their part. That's all.
We're not going to agree on that, so let's just move on. There was an 8-man tag match, Shining Stars, Gallows and Anderson versus Sheamus, Cesaro, and the Hardys. I don't think there was much to this. The babyfaces won. The Hardys are fighting Sheamus and Cesaro at the pay-per-view for the tag titles. And
they're not the Hardys, they're Team Extreme.
Oh. But there was really no tension that I noticed between the teams here, unless I missed something. So I don't know if they're building to anything there, or they're just going to let them go face versus face and see who wins. But
No, they high-fived afterwards, and they loved each other. So
yeah,
I think it's this whole broken, non-broken thing is they're then I wonder if the WWE is bringing the Hardys back more for the Team 3D treatment and the team and the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn treatment than they are for the broken treatment.
yeah, it seems that way, at least so far.
Yeah, and I feel like we are very, very close to people giving up on the Hardys as being as over as they are. You have the entire you had 90 or 60,000 people chanting delete, delete, delete at WrestleMania, and I understand that you can't say broken, but you could still, you could placate to the gimmick, and that's, I don't know. I don't even think Vince knows what broken Matt Hardy is. I don't think he has any clue. So I'm hoping something happens in the next couple of weeks. But if you keep running them where there's, they're 1998 Hardy Boys, it's going to run its course really fast.
Yeah. Yep, I think you're right. The next segment was a women's division segment. Bayley had come out. Of course, she had retained the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Basically, the segment was just to introduce Alexa Bliss and Mickie James from SmackDown coming over to Raw. Sasha Banks was in the ring as well. Again, she's sort of teasing maybe turning on Bayley, but it hasn't happened yet. And then Nia Jax came out at the end of the segment and laid everybody out. So essentially the Raw women's roster now is Bayley, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, Alexa Bliss,
Dana Brooke,
and Mickie James, and I guess Emma and Dana Brooke.
Yeah.
I guess unless you count Alicia Fox, but I don't. So,
and actually, BK said to me, it's tough in the world of professional wrestling to look like a bad actress and stand out for being a bad actress, and Dana Brooke manages to do it.
She does.
And her segment in the back, it was god awful. She cannot talk to anybody. The main event was Dean Ambrose. The main event was a typical WWE champion versus champion match with no build up to it. Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens. I think the writing was on the wall here for Kevin Owens to take the loss, as he's going to be going to SmackDown. I frankly did not see him taking the loss clean in the middle of the ring, though. And like you said before, I think this is a match we've seen a bunch of times, and I thought it was a good match for what it was. I have no problem with these two. I think Ambrose did some new stuff, and Owens did what Owens did, and these guys worked pretty well together. But it's something that we've seen a couple times, and I really question the booking on having one of your main champions take a pin in the middle of the ring.
Yeah, I don't like when they do these random title versus title matches for no reason. I just don't get it. It just doesn't. But yeah, so that's like you said. Ambrose won. Owens obviously telegraphed him probably as well going over to SmackDown. After the match was over, Chris Jericho came out, who was not supposed to be there, at least according to Kevin Owens, and hit Kevin Owens with a code breaker to end the show.
Why couldn't he have done that before the 3 count to give him a little bit of his heat? A little bit he could have held on to. So
anyway, that's Raw.
Yeah, that was Raw. It was an okay show. I thought SmackDown was a better show overall. We'll get to that. So, first person on SmackDown, a very, very crisp-looking Kevin Owens. Silence beard looked just like Brian. I'm telling you, that was BK to a T. Owens came out. He started cutting a promo about how it was odd how he went to the Canada thing. I didn't really see that coming.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
And then, as Kevin Owens cutting a promo, whose music hits? Baron Corbin. Kind of heel and heel for a little while, and after Baron Corbin's talking about why he wants the U.S. Heavyweight title, out comes our old buddy Sami Zayn, fresh off a hot win off The Miz the night before. Sami Zayn comes out, and I think Owens did a really good job selling, I can't get rid of this guy. And after that, AJ Styles music hits, and in the middle of the ring, the first 10 minutes of SmackDown, you have AJ Styles, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Baron Corbin, and I was very, very pumped for that. I was very excited, and I think if you're a SmackDown fan, you got to be excited about having those guys on the show right now.
Yeah, I mean, It's interesting, I guess, that they're putting AJ Styles in the U.S. title mix. I don't know why they'd necessarily be doing that, especially if we assume Orton is gonna retain the title against Bray Wyatt. I don't know who his next challenger would then be if it's not AJ Styles. So
Nakamura.
I mean, do you shoot Nakamura right into that? Like, I don't know. But
that's the only person I could think of. I mean, unless if it's not going to be any of these four guys in this match, then
yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I literally don't know who it's going to be. Like, nothing adds up. Like, unless Styles beats Owens and then Owens fights Orton after that, I guess that's the only thing I could think of. But I mean, why put your secondary title on AJ Styles when he should be in the main event or have the main title on the show? I think that's a little strange to me. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't necessarily like the segment as much just because I feel like I've seen Owens and Zayn together for God knows how long, and it's just a rerun of what happens on Raw for the last year. So, or not longer than that. But they made the three-way. It was Zayn versus Corbin versus Styles, and then triple threat for number one contender spot right in the main event. So
yeah, but they also said the winner of the Kevin Owens Jericho match goes to SmackDown, right. Not necessarily Kevin Owens himself. So we do have some wiggle room, but I'm expecting to see Kevin Owens retain.
I guess the other thing with that is how come match, but the Orton Wyatt match does it have that same stipulation, or I don't know, they just haven't told us yet.
That's why we kind of see it was very clustered, if you will.
Yeah.
So, next match was Randy Orton against a returning Eric Rowan. This is because Rowan popped out last week. He's, I would say, the oft-forgotten member of the Wyatt family, but I think he's, I had no problem with this match. It was a sprint, but went about 4 minutes. But surprisingly enough, another vignette from Bray Wyatt in the middle of the match. So Bray Wyatt is still going to feud with Randy Orton. So far he's the only one on both shows.
Right? Wyatt?
Yeah,
I guess, yeah.
There's just a lot of... Well, I guess...
I don't know. I mean, this week is a little strange because the guys like people that were on Raw that moved to SmackDown had appeared on Raw because they were technically still there at the time, so...
It was an okay match, and then what do you do? Hit him outside? Oh, the steps. That's what it was.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I fast forwarded to this.
Did you?
I saw Eric Rowan and Randy Orton in the ring, and I was like, you know what? That's enough for me.
Why do I sit through all this shit then? Maybe I need a fast forward button too. I do it for the podcast. Next, speaking of rematches, we had American Alpha versus the Usos. I thought this was an awesome match. It wasn't as long as I would have liked it, but I'm digging the Usos right now. I fully expected to hear Enzo and Cass's music play, but after long story short, Usos got the pin after the hidden tag, and there was a super kick into a splash, which doesn't bode well for American Alpha. That's going to be a team that I would like to see go to Raw to freshen things up a little bit, but after the match, American Alpha gets attacked by none other than the Shining Stars, man, who are no longer the Shining Stars. They are now 1997 Ricky Martin models. They were wearing dad jeans and no shirt. So, I mean, I like the Shining Stars because I like their moveset. I think they're good wrestlers, but who cared about them, Like, there was no... Very, very odd choice for American Alpha to go from NXT champions to do nothing on SmackDown, win the SmackDown titles out of nowhere, do nothing with them, don't even get a Mania defense to lose, Well, no, when did they lose titles? American Alpha lost titles
like the week before,
right?
Yeah,
yeah, and then they get the rematch in a really good match, and then now they're Shining Stars bait. I feel bad for American Alpha.
I do too. But for whatever reason, they just have not gotten over the way that they did in NXT. At least not yet. I'm sure it's not all on them. Just in general, it just hasn't happened. So I
can't remember them getting a lot of talk time, right?
They have.
I remember you were saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't gotten a lot of time to talk. Speaking of, well, you know what? I'm not even going to segue. Mojo Rawley versus Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal now on SmackDown. Yeah, Gronk was in the crowd because this show was in Boston. So he got somewhat involved. Whether he was sitting front row and threw a beer in Jinder's face, and then Mojo beat him with his finisher to win. So Mojo's getting a push. At least they're sticking with that, whether anybody likes it or not. At least they're being a little bit consistent with him.